When the Green Sports Alliance and the Kings, when we merged up now a little over a year ago, became partners, fast friends, and wanted to do something special, we knew the golf tournament would be a way to do that. We didn't want to also do just a regular golf tournament. We wanted to make it very special and add some very unique dynamics to the event, whether the way we're going to recycle products here, the way we're going to change water bottle usage, the way that we're going to do some signage on the course.
Well, the biggest part for me personally is I have a 5-year-old daughter. I want to do my part to make it to where she can grow up and also show her the right way to do things and how to take care of the environment. Again, if we don't all do our part, things aren't going to get any better as the world gets more and more populated and as we use more and more water and more of the resources that are here. Perfect example is doing the single head coverage. We put over $250,000 into single head coverage. We've saved in water spending by upwards of 20% over the long run. That's going to be substantial because water is not going to get cheaper next year than it was this year or cheaper the following year. Same thing with electricity. As you replace bulbs, you replace the units themselves with LED. You're using 5%, 10% of what you were using before, and the bulbs last 20 or 30 years versus a couple of years, but the benefit long term is huge. Another project that as the building aged, you have a choice to put the cheapest thing possible that you can see through, or you have a choice to put things that are slightly more energy efficient. We've opted to do more expensive windows that are more energy efficient.
To me, when the Kings, when Green Sports Alliance, when Granite Bay Country Club all want to rally together on a topic such as this, making this tournament greener, making this environment greener, I think all it does is it gives more people more knowledge that they too can get involved. We're talking about Granite Bay, who changes how they watered, the way that they landscape the course, and other practices from recycling to procurement. Lots of things that they're doing that's making huge differences.
It's the right thing to do, not only for the environment, for our future generations, but also from a business standpoint. Everything that we've done thus far has a return on investment, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. There is a return on investment. All of us need to do better. The golf industry as a whole and people in general just need to do a better job. I want to at least be able to look back and say I did my part.
I think together we harness the power of being able to share more and really being able to get more people behind this movement of making the world a greener place.
I know as an industry, in other clubs that I've been to and other ones that I've talked to, the industry is a little bit behind in this area. And, hopefully, I hope to be a leader not only within our company, within our industry and moving this forward.
All right, a little applause, for some good work going on. Welcome to day 2. I'd like to welcome up as a special guest this morning to just say a hello and a few remarks, Michael Peabody, the general manager of Granite Bay Golf Club that you saw in there for all his great work. Michael? You can use this. Like.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Anyone?
All right, we've got orange. Can you power up the orange?
Check, check.
There you go. That was me, I turned it off.
All right, well, thanks for having me. I'd like to thank Joe and the Green Sports Alliance. It really was a pleasure to be a part of this event, and through doing this event and pushing the envelope and doing different things for the tournament, it's really opened up a ton of doors for us to do better at Granite Bay Golf Club. And like I said in the video, I hope to have the opportunity to move it forward within our company, Club Corp, which is the largest holding of golf courses in the world. We have 209 properties, so hopefully we can do what we did at Granite Bay at more clubs in different areas.
Great. Thank you again, Michael. All right. And one of the key things that I want to bring to light about that, I mentioned this yesterday a little bit. We talk about the word campaign. And so this was not just a golf tournament, not just a green golf tournament, but a campaign to help the golf club and the golf course themselves do their own work over time. And this is just the beginning. As Michael mentioned, he's got plans to go far beyond this. And with the relationship that we've built with the Green Sports Alliance and with Granite Bay and through the partnership with the Kings, we help to have a long-term presence to help him become the leader in golf that that Granite Bay can be. So that's the kind of work that we are doing more and more, and we just wanted to give you a little sample of it, so thank you. All right, I'm going to drop this mic and just go off the lavalier. So welcome to day 2. And we actually have some breaking news today. Is Colin Tatro in the house? Colin, we just heard that the 2017 NCAA Final Four basketball championship held in Phoenix this past April has just earned the top-level Evergreen certification from the Council for Responsible Sport. And that this is actually the first dual event to receive this certification from the Council. And our understanding is this is dropping as a live press release either now or in 2 minutes. So you heard it here first. Congratulations to Colin and his entire committee. The other thing that we'd like to mention, as in with all the campaigns that we do here at the Green Sports Alliance, that Colin and his group are also concerned about the legacy factor, right? So it's not just that the event was green and it was great and everyone was happy, but they left something good behind. Refurbished an outdoor court and educated fans and communities, and there are lots of notes in the release, so we're going to make that social and put it up on the Green Sports Alliance site as well. We want to support all our members in the great and good work, and congratulations once again to Colin. So we can't start a day in this beautiful, gorgeous, unbelievable venue without another thank you to our presenting sponsor and gracious host, Vivek Ranadive, the Sacramento Kings and Golden One Center. Huge round of applause. Is this not the best building we've been in to do one of these, huh? Amping it up every year. Where's Jenkins? We got some targets on you for next year, buddy. So please stop by to visit the Outstanding Sponsor Showcase up on the Plaza Concourse. And I know you guys have already done this, but remember, all of the reasons that we are here, many and complex reasons, one of the basic ones is our partners, our business partners, our sponsors. They want to meet you, you need to meet them. It's part of why we're here. It's the fuel that runs this engine that is the Green Sports Alliance Summit. So please take a few moments during the breaks and see what's out there and connect with some new folks. Especially, we have one specific sponsor that we want to talk about over here behind 114 and 115, up in the Plaza Concourse, the Lunch and Learn from LA 2024 Olympic Bid Committee. They're going to actually have lunch and some mini sessions up there on the Plaza Concourse during lunch. So once again, that's up in 114 and 115. As always, and I don't have to tell the people sitting in the front row, because you look like you're all under 30. As always, we want to socialize this, right? So hashtag green sports, hashtag play greener in caps, and our handle on Twitter is @SportsAlliance. So please use that wisely and often. What is that, vote early and often? That applies here. So a quick reminder of our fun new element of this 2017 summit. Thanks to our good friends at Coors, we again have today's Coors Light Sports Bar this year, and today we'll be able to grab Coors Light, Coors Banquet, or my favorite, Blue Moon. And is it noon yet? Is it noon somewhere? No, okay. It opens at noon here, and it goes to 9:30 tonight. So, without further ado, I want to get to the actual people that you want to see and hear from. We've got two of our co-founders of the Green Sports Alliance, way back when they both looked much younger than they do today. And they're going to tell you a little bit of history and then kind of a peek into the future of what's going on here and what we hope to have them lead going on into the world of sports and into the world in general. So I'm going to ask them to come up one at a time. First, Justin, if you would come up. And before you say anything, we actually have Justin saying something not too long ago that was captured on video by our friends at NASCAR Green. If you could roll that.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, Executive Director of the Green Sports Alliance, Justin Zellner.
Drivers, start your American ethanol-powered engines!
All right, and not to be outdone, his partner in crime, who I will introduce as Happy Twilmore, had a little something special to do out on the golf course on Monday. And he crushes this. It goes over the water. I think it was about 240. It was the ball we used. And with that, welcome Jason Twill.
What's really, really sad, good morning everybody, is that was my best shot of the day. I'm pretty bad at golf. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we're gathered on today, the Nessana, Malibu, and Meetok peoples of the Sacramento Valley, and recognize their elders past and present, and thank them for the beautiful culture and traditions they bring to the world. So we're here to talk about, thank you, the origins of the Alliance, and I'll be very brief about it. In February 1st, 2010, there was about a group of 16 or 18 of us that gathered in CenturyLink Field in Seattle and kind of mapped out, we spent a day locked in a room there and mapped out what was to become the Green Sports Alliance. And we looked at 4 different pathways that we could help support transformation within the sports industry and advance the sustainability movement through sports. Next slide. Do we have a clicker to advance slides on the podium? Sweet. The first one obviously was venues, like this beautiful one we're in today. LEED Platinum, and really how we could support the advancements of smart technologies, waste management practices, food. I'm super impressed with the food program that's in this venue right now, and how articulate the staff was giving us a tour. It's not surface green, it's deep green. These venues really speak to how they can be beacons of change within our local communities. Next one. Athletes. I don't know about you guys, but when I hear an athlete talk about sustainability, I receive the message very differently. I noticed that when Andrew Farron spoke at our second summit in Seattle, Washington, at Safeco Field, when he talked about sustainability, the audience received the message very differently. You cannot discount the role model that athletes play at all levels, youth sports, collegiate sports, and professional sports, how they are role models in our communities. Leagues are very important in how we partner with them to kind of inculcate a culture of sustainability across the entire portfolio of teams in their remit. And then lastly is fans, most importantly fans. I've been very blessed to be able to travel a lot around the world. I live in Sydney, Australia right now. I can tell you when the World Series is on or the Super Bowl is playing, it's typically on a Monday morning during work hours, and Sydney is shut down because everyone's at the bar watching the games. I've been in remote areas of Africa. I've been through Cambodia, Vietnam, all through Asia. Everywhere I go, I'm never gonna not find a child or someone wearing a Chicago Bulls jersey, a Yankees baseball hat, and Doug, you'll be happy to know, I think there's more Yankee baseball hats in Sydney than there are actually in New York. It's everywhere. You know, the influence that the teams have in North America have global repercussions, and there's a great responsibility with that. It's very influential. I want to kind of take a pause right now and reflect on where we're at today with this term sustainability and where we need to go. How many of you feel like when I raise that term sustainability, you know, what's in your head? How you think about the term? Raise your hand if you feel like this is all this muddled stuff in your head. You guys have a lot of clarity on sustainability? A lot of jargon, a lot of terms, a lot of different ways we can think about it in the world. The way I was taught about it is using a slide right here, and my good friend Bill Reed has kind of created over the last decade. Really looking at where we are on this left-hand side of the screen is conventional, pretty much the industrial age of thinking, how we've been using resources in the world unsustainably. You move a little bit farther along the horizon here, and we get green. We use the word green a lot. It's not really sustainable, it's less bad. Sustainability is that vertical point in the middle there where we have a neutral impact on the environment and society. That's a key target we need to get to. Right now we're at green, so we still have a long way to go. And we need to get actually beyond that. Sometime in the early 1970s, humanity reached a point where we were consuming and using the Earth's resources faster than the Earth can replenish those same resources. So we use a term called ecological debt that we've been accruing for 50 years. We actually have to pay that debt back. Meaning we have to transcend sustainability. We have to change the way we think about how we use everything, how we look at water, how we use energy, how we create energy, how we eliminate the word waste from our lexicon, because everything should be a resource. There is no term waste in nature. Everything should be a resource. And how we move around the world in much more sustainable ways. I love Elon Musk for that, by the way. I'm really excited to see if his new initiative, Hyperloop, really can come to fruition and get us around the world in a much more sustainable way. And restorative, going beyond sustainability, is really about repairing our communities, repairing our habitat, bringing species back, bringing social equity back. It's everything. We need to get there. This is the journey we have ahead. The Alliance wants to have a role in that. And when I realized quickly when we started this thing, all we did was create a space to support and amplify all the incredible work that all of you are all doing. This is your organization. We wouldn't be here without you guys. And we all have a responsibility to take this thing to the next level and radically transform how we use resources and how we think about this term sustainability. And Justin's going to share a bit about how we get involved in that and look at the journey ahead.
Thank you, Jason. That was very well done. And I am reminded often, and sitting right here in the first couple rows are a lot of the younger generation that was involved in the Youth Summit yesterday. They get this. This is what they're living and breathing. And I often hear about the generational differences that's happening. And so last night, I talked a bit about a defining moments, right? Defining moments. We are in one right now. This movement, all of you as the pioneers that got us to this point, we're at one of those crossroads. We're at one of those defining moments. And we're hearing from you, and we're listening to thought leaders like Jason, and that kind of design that we must move into, and we're responding. And I'm here to tell you kind of what we're doing. So first, let me tell you, we're not stopping what we have been doing. What's got us to this point, a Green Sports Alliance, a trade association, all these great members, all of you and the thousands of people that are participating in this movement really globally, think about energy and water and transportation and food and procurement and the design of these buildings and transportation and all the things that go into that, those programs. We're going to continue to advance those. Absolutely, without a doubt. We're going to add more members. We're going to add more players. We're going to keep growing this, and we're going to keep making those impacts. That's not going to stop. But the defining moment is we know we need to do more. So the last couple of years, we've been developing actually the action plans that I'm going to tell you a little bit about right now. And we put together a Green Sports Alliance Foundation, a 501c3. Well, why do you do that? Because we need to be talking to everybody. We need to be talking about this movement to all fans, to all communities, to a global population. Because the impacts that we've made so far and what Chris Granger has done here is incredible. We need to scale it up. We need it to be bigger. We need to ask all fans to engage with us, all communities to engage with us. And that's what we're doing. So the foundation enables that. We've been busy. We heard a little bit from our athletes, organizing an alliance of athletes globally. What can we use and leverage the movement for them? So advance this through that great, unbelievable lens that they have. The millions of followers and fans that they have, and the massive power and influence that they have from one tweet. I can talk all day and tweet all day, and I cannot reach the same amount of people that a very small tweet that one athlete can do. Julie is here. There's tons and tons of people that are following her and what she's doing at NASCAR as a driver. We need her support, so we're going to enable that, and we're rolling that out right now. Another thing that we're doing is an international harmonization, is what Jason and I like to call this. We've been at this for a long time, and one thing that he mentioned is this fractured nature. You saw the visual that he gave you of all these words and all these different campaigns and programs, and we all sort of get a little bit lost, and we ask people to take action, and they don't really know what to do. Well, internationally, the same thing's happening. There's all kinds of work being done out there, but we really haven't been able to figure out how to harmonize all of that. What we've been really good, what all of you have been really good at, is convening, providing resources, and inspiring. And we need to do that with our international partners. We actually have a meeting later this week to actually bring those conversations into the fold and figure out how we do that. How do we start green sports alliances in every country, in every region around the planet? How do we think about how we roll the campaigns and the programs together? How do we learn from each other at a scale that is unprecedented? And that's what we're going to do. Last year, about this time, we talked about doing something pretty radical. And then on October 6th of last year, we had the pleasure and fortune to sit in the White House with the Obama administration and declare and announce a Green Sports Day, an iconic moment where our movement has a day to itself every year. It was magnificent. And we celebrated a little bit that day. Some of you joined us, some of you heard about this. And I think it was about 2 hours later, we sat together and we said, well, let's get to work. Because that wasn't enough. And we've been working with our league partners, we've been working with you, and we're developing campaigns that wrap around this day and to actually ask fans and communities to engage with us. This year on October 6th, we're going to hold another event. We're going to celebrate all that movement. We're going to inspire moving forward. What Green Sports Day enables is the biggest impact of all, and that's fan, community, engagement. That is the theme of this summit, and that's what we're moving forward with. We're not going to forget that we have a trade association that's churning and having giant impacts. We're not going to forget about it. That's where we started this all. We had to develop that critical mass. We had to show the world that this is something to take notice to, and it's happened. The defining moment right now is, what do we do with that? And that's where we're heading. So we're going to help serve this movement and all of you. We're going to grow it, and we're going to lead it. You heard from a great trailblazer, a pioneer last night, Bill Walton. Incredible what he has to talk about. Live green or die. You heard that from him a couple of times last night. So we decided to roll with that a little bit. We have a Live Green or Die pledge based on his inspiration on our website right now. Bill joined us. I think we have 60 people that have joined. We haven't even really talked about this yet, right? How many of you even knew about that? Probably didn't even really know about that because we're just now beginning this. We had 60 people join us overnight. So now we're open to people. Join us. All of you. So that's your action today. Join us. Have all your friends join us. Let's get to the millions of people that we can reach so that we can harness that energy and we can leverage all of this to create healthier communities where we live and play. And that's the mission of the Green Sports Alliance, and I thank all of you for joining me in that.
Is this still on? I want to add one more thing. I'm so jet lagged, I forgot to mention a key message. That gap of where we are today and where we need to be is really a measurement to me of human potential. And I cannot think of any other industry that represents and embodies human potential than sport. athletes are the very embodiment of human potential. They defy our expectations, they push the boundaries, and the way we think about this will transcend politics, it transcends everything. And every single one of us has that action. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. No, you can bring it back with you. Thank you, Justin and Jason. So in my script, it says synthesize those remarks, but I don't think I need to. So I'm just going to move on. Coming up next, we have some really, really fun stuff. And in order to celebrate that and to bring that to us, I'd like to introduce to you one of our other board members. Jackie Ventura from the Miami Heat. I learned a fun fact from Jackie this morning that she actually majored in, I'm going to do a little quick poll. Anyone in high school here? Okay. What do you think you're going to study in college? Psychology. Don't know. Philosophy. Business. A lot of science. Good for you. Anyone else over here? Young lady there? No? Okay. Well, Jackie had the audacity and vision to study forensic anthropology. So one of your other goals for today is to look that up and then to figure out how does that relate to sustainability, because there is a connection and there's a field developing, I'm told, that will soon become sustainable anthropology. So that has absolutely nothing to do with what Jackie's here to say, but it was a fun fact. So Jackie Ventura from the Miami Heat.
I'm not as tall as Joe, so thank you for that, Joe. So if you guys want to talk to me about that later and how that transitioned into what I currently do at the Heat, feel free to come up and ask. So today we have a fun interview for you, which is going to highlight the power that today's youth have to make a real difference in our world. So yesterday we had a youth summit, the Climate and Sports Student Summits, and these summits are creating a space where the youth can be inspired by the power of sports and each other. And hopefully with the intent to become sustainable change agents in their community. Earlier this year, I hosted one in Miami. And I can tell you, after that experience in March, we've had students that have gone on to challenge our mayor to carry his trash on his back. If you want more info on that, Diana Deem, who's down here on the front row, can talk to you about it. We had students go to commission meetings and speak up at their commissioners about the importance of climate change and sea level rise and how that affects us as a coastal community. These kids are having a real impact just after one day of coming together and thinking through all of these ideas. So yesterday, we had local students come down and attend a summit together, and they were inspired by this next speaker. His words of encouragement can create change in all of their communities. So Calum, come up here. Calum Worthy is an actor, writer, and producer. He starred as Dez in the award-winning Disney Channel comedy series Austin and Ally, which I think most of you have seen. And he was on several TV series and films. Worthy has been an environmental activist since he was 14 years old. He completed his training as a climate reality leader with Mr. Al Gore, and he's a committed advocate for the Climate Reality Project. He participated in Climate Reality's 24 Hours of Change in both Paris in 2015 and in New York in 2016. He's working with climate change leaders in both Canada and the US, but also makes time to speak and work with students who are passionate about environmental issues. Let's welcome him.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much to the Green Sports Alliance for having me. This is a wonderful organization, and I am so proud to be tweeting about it and putting it out there on social media. It's really an honor to be here. Also, the Youth Summit yesterday was unbelievable. If you attended the Youth Summit, could you please stand up, actually? So these are the environmental leaders of tomorrow, and I want to give them a huge round of applause because they really are change makers. So thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and I believe I will be interviewed. Is that right?
Caleb will be interviewed. So we have two bright young students who are both very passionate themselves about sustainability at a very young age, and they attended the Student Summit yesterday. They were able to spend some time with Calum. So Addie Zollner, and she's a student at Beverly Cleary School in Portland, Oregon, and Kobe Ipa is a junior Grom surfer and student at Dwyer Middle School in Huntington Beach, California. Let's welcome Addie and Colby up to the stage. Woo! And now I leave it in their very capable hands.
I'm very excited. This is awesome. These guys are amazing, by the way. I've been talking to them yesterday, and they really are phenomenal environmental activists and leaders. So, take it away.
When did you start caring about the environment?
So I first started caring about the environment, I was in 10th grade. And I've been an actor, I was a child actor, and I spent in my entire middle school and high school career on sets. So I took all my academic courses homeschooled, but I was able to go to an actual high school for all of my electives. And I took a class that they were offering called Global Studies. And that is the course that changed my life forever, because I had a teacher named Mark Neufeld, who is still a mentor and very good friend of mine to this day. He walked in one day, and he said, I'm actually not going to teach the normal curriculum. I want to talk to you about something different, because there's something that is happening in the world that we don't talk about in school enough. So he walked in and he put on An Inconvenient Truth. We watched that, and we spent about 20 minutes after talking about climate change, and he explained to us the impact it had on us. Immediately, I had a fire in my gut, and I needed to do something about it, because he posed the question at the end, what are you going to do about this? I was watching all the projections they were talking about and the future projections they're talking about in terms of what we'll see in 20, 30, and 40 years around the world. And I realized when I was 15 at that point, that's going to be me at 30, 40, and 50. This is the world I'm going to be living in, and that's the age I'll be having kids. So I really thought through what kind of world do I want to leave my kids and grandchildren. So that's what got me involved in the environmental movement. And as I continued on in my acting career, I got on a Disney Channel show, and I ended up gaining this large fan base. And ever since then, I've been harnessing that fan base for good. And I've been trying to educate all the young fans that follow me in terms of how they can get involved in the environmental movement as well.
So how did you take what you've learned and put it into action?
Great question. So in terms of when I was in high school, this is for all of the young people watching, I created a club called Teens Against Climate Change, and we organized green days, we organized debates at our school as well. I'm from Canada, by the way, so it was our provincial and federal election, because we have provinces, not states, and we had all the local leaders come, and we asked them, what are you going to do to make sure that we have a sustainable future? And it was an amazing experience, and from that, as soon as I was able to have a larger platform to work with, I decided to stop tweeting about what I was having for lunch that day and start tweeting about climate change and the impact we're having on the environment. And it was really tough because Disney is a worldwide organization, and I had a lot of resistance. A lot of people were saying you might alienate part of your fan base and audience by tweeting about this. And I think I did. I think I did alienate some people, but what I just couldn't live with that. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't stand up for what I believe in. Because the science is real. The debate's over. And this shouldn't be a partisan issue, and I don't want to not tell my fans what I really believe in because of that. So I've continued to do that. I've continued to do that through social media, and I'm also a writer and a producer as well, so anytime I can incorporate the environmental movement into a project I'm producing, I always try to implement that. And I also work with the Climate Reality Project as well. If you haven't taken the Climate Reality Training Program, I would highly recommend it. It's unbelievable, and it's a really fantastic organization.
What is important about your message, and how do you put it out into the world?
What's important about the message is it affects every living thing on the planet. Everything that we've known to love in this world will be affected because of climate change. And it's important to get it out there because we need to. Our lives depend on it. This seems like a really big issue, and it is, because it's the greatest challenge that mankind has ever faced, but I try to spin that in a positive way, Because what I've noticed is that when I tweet or Instagram or post on social media about climate change in a negative way and talk about all the problems we're having, my fans don't really like that. They don't respond very well. However, when I talk about all the positive things we're doing and I'm able to empower them, that's where I really see a difference. And that's where I really see them feeling that they have the ability to actually tackle this problem on their own. And the kids that were here at the Youth Summit yesterday are perfect examples of that. They believe they can make a difference, and they can. I experienced when I was young and I was in high school that when I stood up and said, I demand real change for how we're, the way that we're treating the environment, adults actually listened to me. And it was an amazing thing. And be able to have a larger platform with the Disney fan base has been a real gift. I remember when I first got the call that I was going to be on a Disney show, and they said, you're going to have quite a large fan base after that. My first thought was, okay, cool. Now I can talk about climate change on a bigger scale. Now, I have a question for you two, because you were both 12 years old. Is that right? And you're already speaking at an environmental summit. So I want to know, how did you guys get involved at such a young age?
Well, when I started surfing, me and my dad got into this program called Surf Rider Foundation, and once every other week, we would go to a beach, clean up trash, and we would weigh it, and then we would put it in the right bins.
That is fantastic. And how were you first involved in the environmental movement?
So I got very interested in animals, and I was just going down the grocery store aisle and with my mom, and I got a jar of Nutella, and I said, let's get this. And she checked the ingredients, and she said, like, we can't get this. There's palm oil in it. And so I just said, what's palm oil? And so she researched it, and she taught me about it, and then I started to teach people from my school about it. And that was how I got started.
That is fantastic. And it was so cool to talk to all of the kids yesterday, because they are really well educated in this. I learned a lot from them. They taught me a lot, and hopefully I taught them something as well. But I just want to thank the Green Sports Alliance for having me. This is really an amazing organization. I am the least athletic celebrity you have involved in your organization, but I hope I can still do some good by sharing all of your information with my fans. So thank you so much. And thank you to these amazing interviewers. Give me a huge round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you to Joe, too. We actually met in New York during the 24 Hours of Reality event, and he told me about this, and immediately I said, I want to be a part of this. I got to get in.
And we need you back for Green Sports Day.
Done. I'm in.
Okay, good. Thank you. Heard that? It's taped? Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
very much.
Really
Thanks for coming. Thank you, guys. Good job. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That's our future. And if nothing inspires you to want to do better even a little bit, to play greener, engage one more fan today, one more community today, one more athlete today, it's this. These are our children. These are our future. So eloquently put. Thank you so much. And just almost got a tear in my eye on that one. So, all right. Great work. Thank you. And now, we're moving to some big boys. In order to introduce the next presentation, it's really another example of when we talk about engagement, when we talk about fan engagement, community engagement, and athlete engagement. Well, this next discussion involves all three. And to bring that to us, I'm going to introduce another member of our board, Doug Behar from the New York Yankees, the Vice President of Stadium Ops there, and also our 2015 Environmental Leadership Award winner. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about ways that venues and teams and athletes can sort of help influence young people and make a positive impact right in their own communities. So there he is. Doug Behar, everybody. Round of applause. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Good morning, everybody. Again, Doug Behar. I'm on the board of the Green Sports Alliance. Also the chair of the Corporate Members Network Committee, which I'm excited to be a part of, and also the Senior Vice President of Stadium Operations for the New York Yankees. And I just want to take a quick minute to talk about the power of a true partnership, and talk briefly about that. So a couple of years ago, I went to Seattle to look at the LED sports lighting that they introduced to their stadium. So I flew out to Safeco Field, and I walked out to center field where I met John. John is the CEO of Plan LED, and walked out there, stood in center field. It was at night, and him and I started to talk. And it was there that I learned two things. One was that his LED lights were more than just saving on energy. That lighting had a profound impact on performance, on people in a very positive way. I was excited. I also realized at that moment that we were going to try to do things together in a very sincere, healthy way that goes beyond traditional partnerships. So I came back to New York, was very excited to share what I've learned out in Seattle. We quickly got John's lights in our stadium, our sports lights, his LED lights. We're very excited about that, but we wanted to do more than just have lights in our stadium. We wanted to be able to use the power of our brand, the power of our athletes, which Jason and Justin talked about, the profound way in which they could deliver those messages to our audience better than we could ever do, and use the power of John's technology to do something long-term and sustainable within our communities. We initially initiated a project, an educational project at the stadium that now will become an annual event where we learn about the health effects and the positive effects of appropriate lighting, well beyond, again, the sustainability and savings in energy. But we still wanted to do more. And we wanted to do something, as Jason talked about, that wasn't just green, but sustainable, long-term, having positive impacts in our community, and something that we could build on. So we created a project along with the help of, obviously, the Yankees, our athlete, John, the Green Sports Alliance, and started something that we hope to be able to continue to build on. So with that, I'd like to introduce my good friend and corporate partner, John Wang.
Thank you, Doug. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is John Huang. I'm CEO of Plan LED. Last night, as I was kind of pondering about the messages that was given from Vivek, from Bill, from Justin, talking about defining moments, and I suddenly remembered that our very first project that applied research to improve human experience while reduce carbon usage was actually done in the city of Sacramento. And it was done for a Dignity Health Group's call center, where there were about 500 people working 24-hour shift. And after we applied a spectrally targeted solution, which means we tried to bring daylight's benefit indoors, because what modern light culture has determined as our favorite color setting and light setting is very different than what daylight is. And it's only been 10, 15 years that the researchers began to understand that we've been missing all the non-visual benefits of light because we just didn't understand it. So when we completed the first project in this city for Dignity Health Group, I went out to meet with employees to understand what was the result. And I remember about 8 people spoke with me in a very personal testimonies of what it meant for them. But one of the customer service managers told me that she had to wear computer glasses every day. She was on pain medicine every day. And she had to take frequent breaks because of the headaches, the chronic headaches that she had. And as soon as she got home, she had to rest and were not able to have any family time because of her condition. Interestingly, after the lighting application, which brought the visual balance with a spectral, targeted solution that tried to replicate the daylight indoors, she was completely healed of her headache. She was not wearing, computer glasses anymore, and she was actually spending evening with family, enjoying life. And that's when I began to understand there's a mission for me. There's a mission that I need to understand more about the benefits. And since then, we've been through multiple defining projects, the projects that really helped us form the perspective, new paradigm of lighting. That was through the sports. Through Jason's introduction, I got to meet with Green Sports Alliance. And when we began to communicate with Justin and Scott and share our findings that people heal faster, students learn better, athletes can perform better, and we can achieve much more than just reducing energy cost. We can improve human life, and we begin to call it human-centric sustainability. So when we began to just build this conviction that we must share this message to the rest of the world, that's when I really began to understand why Green Sports Alliance exists and how this vision of using the sports platform to reach the world with solutions and technologies that can not only create sustainability, but improve human life. So the film that we're going to share is one of our beginning of our journey, how we converged the technology, education, and sports to change the world together. So hope you enjoy the film. Thank you.
36 games is the fastest that Rivera has ever gotten to 15. Just 2 walks in 21 in the third innings.
You're always in defense mode against Mariano.
Mariano has been close to perfect.
We already know the power of harnessing professional sports and its greatest stars to create a healthier planet. Are you ready to see what can happen when we take that same formula and use it to brighten our daily lives and shine a light on our community's greatest assets?
When we had the state test, doing like the ELA one, we were like, some of us was falling asleep with the old fluorescent lights, but now doing the math state test with the LED light, we didn't fall asleep, and I think we aced it.
We got the light. I feel better overall at the end of the day. I don't feel tired like I used to. I used to get headaches. Oh. Yeah. We had a conversation with John when we did the webinar about how we thought we weren't drinking enough water because we were treating with headaches all the time, and now we don't have that problem.
I think it has changed our learning because they are much brighter and we can learn better that way. The lights make me feel more comfortable and very awake. I don't get sleepy in school anymore.
So the children they're so happy every time they come in. Even teachers will say, immediately they will say to change the lights.
Also really having kids begin to make connections between how do I experience lighting, how can I create a mood for myself, how can I make changes in the physical environment to make learning a better experience for me. It's super important, and I think that's what we've learned from this partnership.
We are teaming up to tell a story that began at the home of the Seattle Mariners. It was here that the Green Sports Alliance and Plan LED forged a relationship that would change the way we see Major League Baseball. The success of creating the first LED-lighted stadium in Major League Baseball quickly spread from the Diamond in Seattle to the home of the world's most celebrated franchise. For the first time, we have the technology to design light for the individual needs and preferences of people who need it. And we now have the partnership that can spread it throughout our communities.
What we're doing is something that we all can do, everybody. And the positive long-term effects that this will have in the communities that we live in, the communities that we work in, is so meaningful. It's something that we need to share this message on.
It's amazing, and I hope every school district will have
this kind of lighting because it will be better for the community, it will be better for the kids, and it's better all around because it's green.
But what we can do is win in your community. So this is the kind of thing that the Yankee organization can do with great partners like Plan LED, working with organizations like the Green Sports Alliance. We can actually bring this kind of thing to the community. We can help build healthier communities together.
The Green Sports Alliance has found the formula to put our planet on the scoreboard. Now it's time to spread that vision to the places where our next sports stars and fans need it most.
It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing when you think we're starting to see more and more examples of the power of sports leveraging the market influence, the cultural influence of sports. This is a classic example. You bring together a team, you bring together a corporation, you bring together the community with the benefits of doing business together. It's the triple win. So thank you for sharing that with us, and we hope to help you spread that far and wide. A round of applause for the Yankees and Plan LED. Now I have the good fortune and pleasure to introduce one of our colleagues here from the Green Sports Alliance, who heads up our programming, and that in and of itself is a huge undertaking for those of you who know the programming that we deliver across all of our 7 major areas of waste, water, transportation, energy, procurement, venue, etc. And that is Danya Gutierrez. Danya.
Just a little shorter than Joe. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Joe, and thank you, John, and the Yankees for the great work that you all do. Thank you all for being here. Before I move forward, just going to share a quick personal story. I'm originally from Miami, and when I was in elementary school, I was in our school's math team because I'm super cool. And we were doing really, really well, and our teacher wanted to continue to motivate us to stay a part of the team, so she managed to arrange a meet and greet with Tim Hardaway, who at the time was my favorite NBA player, huge Heat fan. And I still to this day remember that moment where he shook my hand and congratulated me for simply being good at math. And it really motivated me to work harder in school and pursue my passions. Now I think back on it, and if I had met Dwayne Wade at the time, I probably would have pursued a PhD in math. But that's not the point. We're here today because athletes are incredible and powerful role models. We know that these role models are passionate and they have a lot of drive, and they care for issues that impact the communities that we interact with every single day, inside and outside of the venues or the platforms that we're using. And here at the Green Sports Alliance, we're really excited to expand our athlete engagement program to harness that passion and also leverage that influence so that we can do more and help them do more. So I have the distinct honor to introduce our athlete panel today, and it's going to be moderated by Abe Madcore, who you all saw last night, and I'm pretty sure he'll be able to get through a few questions this time. But this panel is made up of 5 athletes doing their part to make a difference in their communities. This main stage panel features athletes representing a wide range of sports, including collegiate and professional athletes, who will share how they're incorporating environmental and social responsibility into their daily lives and into their sports. So I'd like to welcome Abe, Jessica, Duke, Uriah, Shane, and Julia to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Here we are. How's everyone doing? Come on, bring it up, bring it up. I think there's a clicker up here somewhere. Is there a clicker up here somewhere? I want to give a couple of shout outs. It's great. First, it's great to be with everyone today. Second, it's my third or fourth time, thanks, Joe. You guys are going to want that for your slides, to be here. And I really want to appreciate or acknowledge all the great work that Justin and Jason and everyone at the Alliance is doing. Third, the athlete panel, I think this is the third one I've done. And in your gift bag on the front page of the SBJ, and the issue that you were given was a big piece on Brody Levin. That didn't get done without me meeting Brody here last year at this event and having a relationship with him. So the best thing that comes out of these events to me are the learnings, but also the relationships that you're going to make. And I know from now on I'm going to know all of these athletes and hope to build on that relationship. Finally, Chris Granger, I think he's here. He's right there. I know he didn't get enough stage time last night, but all of you should go and thank him for the effort that he did to make this the most green facility in sports. It was really an amazing effort. So we're going to go for the next 45 minutes. This is your panel. If you have a question, please just jot it down, raise your hand, and they have some people going around to get the questions, and they'll bring them up to us. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a conversation. I've asked each of the athletes to take a minute and introduce themselves, their interests, and really what got them started in the programs that they're so passionate about. And we heard a lot about passion last night from Bill. And so, Duke, I want to start with you, but I first want to say you must be proud of your boy. He did a great job.
He did an insane job.
Yeah?
Right on, boy.
Awesome. Awesome.
So, hey, my name's Duke Ipa. I come from a long line of surfers from the islands. Actually, there's a picture in the Bishop Museum that depicts a Hawaiian surfer. It's a very famous shot that happens to be my great-great-great-grandfather. So surfing is rooted deeply in our blood. And along with that is the Hawaiiana, is the culture of being a Hawaiian, which is interconnectivity. I think Justin touched on that. So the Hawaiian culture is truly interconnectivity, and nothing went to waste there. And everyone had their place, and everyone understood what their responsibilities were.
Duke's being also very humble. I mean, this family and he are a legend in that community. So it's great having you here. Shane.
Hi, guys. Shane Keogh, CEO of Benefit Corporation Global Ecosystem Solutions. We focus on mutually beneficial solutions for community and environmental issues around the world. As a Benefit Corporation, we focus on providing and bridging the gap between the left and the right, between green and greed, and hopefully promoting, with the GSA's help, educational opportunities around the world.
Give a little background on your sports background.
My grandfather, great uncle, my father, myself all played professionally. I didn't get to the tip top of the pyramid like they did, but had 4 years in the minor league system with the Oakland Athletics. My grandfather, Boston. My dad played for the Oakland Athletics as well.
Great. Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Kavanaugh. I am here representing the Beaver Athlete Sustainability Team. I just finished up my 4th year swimming Division I, and I just graduated on the 17th with a major in environmental engineering.
Give it up.
Thank you. And I'm here just representing student athlete engagement.
And you were here for the Pac-12 event.
Yes, I was. Yes. So not only what our school is doing, but what all 12 campuses are doing across the Conference of Champions. It was really inspirational.
Great, Julia.
Hey everybody, I'm Julia Landauer and I'm a NASCAR driver, and I really got interested in sustainability because from an early age I recognized that my sport was not the most environmentally friendly, and I loved it and I didn't want to give it up, and so started focusing on what I could do as an athlete, what the sport can do, and what fans could do to be more environmentally friendly. And I have to say I've gotten so many more ideas from being here and talking with people, so I'm really excited to implement even more.
So let's jump off with that. All of you chime in here. Talk about the start. Getting your interests. A lot of the themes have been take baby steps. Don't try to change the world in one fell swoop, but make an effort. Do the little things. Talk a little bit about the challenges of just getting going in terms of your environmental advocacy.
Well, it's just like the compound effect. You do a little of something each day, bad or good, and the result will be something massive, either bad or good. So it's just like when you're paddling out to surf, you have your obstacles, and which is the waves coming at you. And this is relative to life for everyone out there. All you gotta do is just duck underneath the waves, let the problems roll over you, and eventually you get to where you're going. but it's the consistency and the persistency in whatever your field is, whatever your passion is. For me, it's keeping the oceans clean. It's so important. I mean, there's my great-great-great-grandfather right there. Cool. I was raised in the ocean. I learned to surf before I could walk, literally. And you know, it's just been a part ingrained in me. But for me, it's more about let's see, how does this turn on? There we go. So it's about a legacy. It's about carrying on the legacy of my family, carrying on those traditions, and ultimately passing it on to my children and their children's children. So it's just small, simple philosophies. For us, it's just keeping the beach clean. But what it is for surfers, we're the last defense. We are the ultimate last defense when it comes to the ocean. Unfortunately, it comes from inland, from the mountains towards the ocean, where it gets into the rivers, gets into the storm drains, and it ultimately ends up on our beaches. But that's where we come into play. We're the last defense.
And yours has been, it sounds like, a generational learning. I mean, it came to you, and you're obviously bestowing it upon your children to do the thing that you are passionate about.
Absolutely, and they follow along quite well.
It sounds like they do. Yeah. Shane and the rest of you, chime in a little bit about the wins that you feel you're making and what got you going on it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the GSA has talked about that tipping point. And for me, that tipping point was in 2010 when I got released by the Oakland Athletics. And I wanted to be in position, and I wanted to instill in my family for generations to come, like I said earlier, was that ability to be sustainable in whatever you're doing and whatever you're around, whether that's your job, your family, your community, the environment surrounding that. So, you know, some of the things I've worked with sports, with other athletes, with people I know, is just starting to broaden that little bit of education, those incremental steps that everyone's been talking about, that really start to just organically feed that need to make a difference and have people realize that step by step, individuals can really make a big difference.
And was your family an influence on you, or was it more you?
Not directly. I was always around the environment. I grew up hunting and fishing. We had friends that owned landfills and stuff. So I always saw all ends of the spectrum. And I think that tipping point in 2010 really kind of led me to where I am today.
Jessica.
So speaking for the Beaver Athlete Sustainability Team, I think our tipping point actually came with the Green Sports Alliance. They really recognized what we were doing in athlete engagement, and I think that's when we were able to gain some traction, because we're very much a grassroots movement. It's not coming from our athletic director, it's not coming from administration, it's coming from a group of 5 student athletes at first, and now we're about 16 on our campus. And finally, you know, with the help of GSA, we were able to reach those people in our athletic department, in our administration. And the picture you see up there, that was our first really successful event that we had at our football game. And this was a really special event for me because we decided we were going to collect the giveaways, right? The pom-poms that normally just go home and get trashed. And so those we collected, and then they were actually brought to one of my swim meets, which, you know, swimming's pretty low profile, so we don't really get giveaways, but it was a pretty exciting thing to see that it all came full circle.
That's great. I want to talk a little bit about getting the others involved and how difficult it is to spread the message. But Julie, why don't you chime in terms of your influencers?
Well, I was actually going to talk a little bit about that too, because NASCAR is really special because we reach 80 million people, right? So that is a huge audience, and over 3/4 of them are already aware that climate change is an issue and needs to be addressed. So we have an engaged audience, and being able to tap into them and just educate about the little things that we're doing, and whether that's everything from recycling. You know, I was racing at Sonoma on Saturday, and there were recycling bins next to every trash bin that I saw in the pits. That's a huge step just to get people to think about it, and especially because they have the tops that you can only fit thin bottles in, so that it helps to initiate the change from the people. And it's really cool to work with that kind of engaged audience who are inspired by what we do, and so they think about that a little bit. So it's a cool journey.
So one of the areas that I get a lot of pushback on from agents and from others is they don't want their client, their athlete, to get involved in a lot of causes because they feel it's controversial. They feel it can be polarizing. I mean, talk a little bit about spreading the message. Talk a little bit about getting other athletes involved on campus and maybe within your respective sports. Do you get pushback or do you get acceptance?
Well, for surfers, we are all, since we're in the water a lot,
Is a little different.
we're all together. You know, it's very rare you'll find a surfer that doesn't care what he's paddling in. But as far as what we're doing as a movement, I was fortunate enough to be the surf ambassador for the Surfrider Foundation. And with that came a lot of responsibility. And I get a lot of questions, what does a surf ambassador do? And my answer is, I surf. But I surf with an ideology that I can get other surfers more involved in what's going on around them.
And I want to come back to that, to an ideology that you're very informed about and very comfortable talking about. But talk a little bit about the early, like getting others involved and spreading the message. Is it difficult or challenging?
I think in collegiate athletics, it's a bit of a unique situation. You know, only about 4% of college athletes are really going to make it. And on our campus, I think that I personally got a lot of support, even on just my swim team. Maybe they didn't want to join our club, but we need more volunteers, right? You need a lot more volunteers than people making the decisions about what you're going to be doing. So anytime that I needed a volunteer, my teammates were the first people to volunteer. So I think that in collegiate athletics, you know, college kids, they care, they want to do things. And with student athletes in general, I think it's more about empowering them and letting them know that they do have the time, you know, because you're always told you don't have time to do A, B, or C, but you do. You can make the time if you want to. And I think that's where our athletic department really gave us the power to take that on. So.
And I think that, you know, I think there is a little bit of, not necessarily pushback, but you're asking people, if you're asking them to recycle or invest in maybe more expensive but more efficient, you know, practices in the day-to-day, you are going to see some pushback. But I think the key is to make it personal. Like, are there maybe less good actions negatively impacting them, their kids? You know, you can pinpoint very obvious and practical things that aren't good. And if you make it a personal thing, that tends to help influence people to try to make some change. That's what I try to do.
Almost like Bill was talking last night about telling that story. So if you can tell the story where it impacts them, you're going to have greater success in getting through. Something you wanted to add, Shane?
Yeah, I think when we're talking about these things, people get so consumed with the big arenas, the big impact, the major league level. I don't know if we can throw these slides up really quick, but you know, me coming from the minor league level, you know, a lot of these cities we play in. One of the examples I want to show is it was a small city, under 30,000 people, Clinton, Iowa, but over 67 home games, they got over 115,000 people came through their gates to watch games, only 67 games. And with that big of an impact, you talk about people, opportunities for influence, using sports to leverage, and like you said, people get connected on a minor league level. So when they do get to the major league level, when you get the accumulation of all the sports, over 140 million people around the country watching or coming through your games. Now, another example for us is how sports can also be a haven for some areas. I played in the city of Stockton here in 2008.
Right.
2008, we all remember, is one of the worst economic times in our country. 1 out of 10 homes being repossessed. You know, 300,000 people were in struggles, but we set attendance records basically 3 years in a row at the ballpark. So those are kind of the things that we're focused on at GUESS and how sports in a GSA can really make a difference.
Duke, where have you seen little wins? Where, in all of you, where, you know, you mentioned the recycle plan at the football game. You talked about recycling in Sonoma last week. Where else are you seeing incremental progress in your respective areas?
Well, I would have to say it's with the Groms, with the young surfers. Absolutely with them, and it really begins with them. So what I did with the Surfrider Foundation is I started something called SRF, which is basically a Grom charged version of the Surfrider Foundation, where it's the youth taking responsibility for where they surf, where they train, where they compete. And the idea is that they take that with them and carry it through to the professional levels. Because at that point, I mean, it's all a circle. Whatever Kelly Slater is doing, my son wants to do. Kelly Slater, 11-time world champion, in case anyone needs some knowledge on that one.
Yeah.
So
what's a Grom?
Okay, a Grom is a young surfer.
I felt naive and stupid.
I'm sorry, I kind of assumed that everyone knows surf terminology. So the idea is that they carry with them from that level from the amateur competitions up into the professional ranks. And then the next generation coming up sees that, oh, wow, it's really cool to be a part of the Surfrider Foundation. It's really cool to care about the environment. I'm going to do that too, just because it's cool.
And so caring about the environment obviously is an intrinsic value of the Surfrider Foundation that the Groms are learning throughout.
Correct.
And it is about ocean and other areas of the environment, or is there focus on cleaning the ocean and the beaches?
The focus really is on clean oceans and clean beaches. But, like I said earlier, it starts inland. So there are some things starting up like drains to ocean. And I'm just going to have to take this opportunity to thank Diana for connecting me with the Green Sports Alliance, because honestly, I never heard of it. Mm-hmm. And now that I've seen it, it's huge. It's something that I'm going to be pumping up to my fellow surfers and saying, hey, you guys need to take a look at this and get involved.
Great. Shane, in terms of where you're seeing progress, where you're seeing, incremental areas of, or any of you, chime in terms of areas that you're seeing progress in the efforts that you have.
Yeah, I think just from what I've experienced just personally with our company, with some of the people that I've met with, is people are looking to make a difference. They're looking to make a change. They just feel overwhelmed and overburdened with the options that they have. It's homeless, it's dogs, it's battered women, children support, stuff like that. But understanding that every choice is right. You don't have to choose one. You can make a choice second by second, day by day, that can change someone's life that you don't even know.
The slide that was referenced earlier with all the different themes, and they asked, is there clarity in people's thought? I know I didn't raise my hand, but there's not much clarity in the areas that I would be focused on, because there are so many areas. And like you said, people can be overwhelmed. Where are you two seeing respective progresses?
Well, I'll speak for NASCAR more because I don't have metrics for people, my fans and people that I'm influencing. But with NASCAR, it's really cool because they have an immense tree planting program, and they're following the results of that to make sure that the trees are maintained and that they're actually, offsetting the carbon footprint a little bit. And then we're also working with American Ethanol and making that blend a little more robust. And part of it is the mechanical constraints that we have. And but you're seeing that, and you're just seeing more young drivers. We have a big influx of young drivers coming up the series in NASCAR, and you see them engaging in these environmentally friendly programs that NASCAR hosts or partners host, and it allows them to engage with young people in the community. So we're just seeing the ripple effect of people actually taking action, and even if it's only one event every so often, they have influence. And so we are seeing that, and I'm excited to see that in the younger NASCAR driver audience.
And so, Julie, you were part of the NASCAR Next 2016 class, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
So congratulations on that. But within that group, within your colleagues, is there more environmental awareness and advocacy among them?
Oh, definitely. And that a bunch of the people in that group were some that I was referencing in terms of going out and doing these programs with the local communities and having the discussions. And our class had a few older people, and by older I mean in our early 20s. And so we're having these conversations, and I think a lot of drivers are open to it. And for the most part, we understand that, the thing that we love, the thing that we are so lucky to do has a negative impact, and we're not trying to say that it doesn't, right? But just trying to take the steps that we can to educate and influence and do our little parts, it has a huge effect.
And Jessica, where do you hope that they could scale or build on the programs that you started at Oregon State? What could be next?
Well, we worked on compost for about a year, so that's going to be starting in the fall. But I also just wanted to jump off of what Duke said earlier about the future. I happened to get the opportunity to be at the Student Summit yesterday, and what I learned from them was incredible. The classes that they get to take in high school and in public high schools that were just not an option. And I'm from Anchorage, Alaska, and it's a pretty environmentally beautiful state, and there's not a lot of real waste up there, but we didn't have classes like that. We didn't have opportunities to come out and speak with other students about what's going on, and they were just so knowledgeable about what's happening. It's a part of their life, so that was, a big incremental change. But in terms of on our campus, I think that with our fan base at Goss Stadium, which is our baseball stadium, we saw a big increase in just recycling, and that's a pretty basic form of sustainability. But in terms of the sports area, especially in our athletic department, which is a very, it's an old school athletic department for sure. And so we saw a big increase in the amount of recycling just with our student athlete engagement, because we went out there and we were standing by the recycling bins and being like, hey, maybe take the bottle top off or put it in the recycling bin and don't put it in the trash that's right next to it, And I think that actually was able to start those conversations.
What I like about that is it sounds like it's really bubbling up from the bottom and not driven top down. But talk a little bit about your athletic department, which you said was a little bit more old school. A lot of athletic departments are, right? Yes. So does it fall on the student athlete to, I would say, to be the catalyst for change within these athletic departments?
Yeah, I think we're definitely a prime example of that. And in terms of, when I talk about old school, I don't mean, I just mean in terms of sustainability, right? Because our student athlete development program is so exceptional, and they want us to take charge of our own lives. Like I said earlier, most of us aren't going to be professional athletes, and we know that. And that's where we have to make sure that we're prepared to go out into the real world and that we have these real life experiences. So we're charged to take action and start these student-run programs, but then once you have a student-run program, do you have that athletic administrative support that's outside of the student development department, right? So that's where, for a while, we were just, talking about all the things that we wanted to do and not really taking any action, and it really just took standing up and making that first step. Like in that picture that you saw, we're holding brown, cardboard boxes and handmade signs because we didn't have funds, we didn't have anyone really supporting us in terms of financially. So and that's when I think they realized that we were legitimate and that we wanted to affect change.
I mean, I think that's amazing.
Can I expand on that? Yeah. So, talking about the student summit yesterday I got the privilege to be around them all day long, and the Climate Sports and Students Summit. I can't tell you how pivotal that is. It's just like a young surfer looking up to a legend. Like my dad looked up to the great Duke Kahanamoku. These kids are being brought up in the right manner. It takes a lot of effort to change an adult's mind, but it takes, it's natural when you shape a child's mind. So thank you, Diana, for bringing that.
So you were pretty
and these ladies.
And
pretty
Linda
blown away.
And Elaine.
I was absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's the funnel for the Green Sports Alliance.
Again, coming from the bubbling up. You're gonna.
Yeah, I think somebody yesterday said when you're a kid, you are an environmentalist naturally. That's just, you want to be outside, you're a natural environmentalist. And it takes, a little bit of growing up, and that's when you change your mind about different things. But as a child, you are a natural environmentalist, and that was so true. I don't remember who said that, but someone said it wasn't me.
I love it.
So.
It's great.
I applaud these kids right here, though. I applaud them.
Remember, if you have any questions as we start to wrap it up here, just jot them down and we'll get them to the. You are very lucky because it comes about leadership, and at NASCAR, Brian France has made a NASCAR Green a priority, where she has to kind of do it herself with her fellow student athletes. It's a NASCAR initiative that can be used across a number of different series, but you were able to benefit from that.
Yeah, totally. And I think that that's really important because, NASCAR is such a big organization. It is so, and to take, to have, the preconceived notions that people may have about NASCAR to then add this green element, which will turn, to sustainability and everything, is really powerful. And again, I think the big project that we're all working on is just expanding that and making it more well-known and making it well-known outside of the sport in corporate America that, hey, we are doing this initiative, and the more people that we can bring in to contribute to it and come up with new ideas of how, we can implement more sustainable practices, that's really exciting. And so it makes it that much bigger. It's so much more than just the sport, but they are a powerful entity that is taking a stance on it.
And the scale of it. I mean, the size of the races, and the cars, and all the elements surrounding the sport all apply to some of the efforts.
Yeah.
Shane, if you were in a baseball locker room circa 2017, and you and your fellow players, would it be easy to get them involved in your efforts?
I think athletes, especially they take over the cities in a good way, and we're part of the hospitals, we're part of the community. So I think athletes in general, if they see a benefit that they can make in a weird way, selfishly, if they see that they could benefit, socially on social media, marketing, or whatever, athletes are ready to do what they think is going to be right for them, their brand, their community. So yes, I think now they see that there's not only social benefit, but there's becoming substantial financial benefit for doing well for the environment, community benefits, stuff like that.
And it doesn't really matter where the motivation comes from, right? Like, I think this is one of those situations where as long as the work's getting done, like, that's important. So just encouraging that as much as possible.
I guess I get worried from a perspective if you see an athlete like Colin Kaepernick out there who was socially active, not in the environmental space, but more in the political space, and yet he can't get signed by an NFL team. Perception is that he's not getting signed because he was outspoken.
Yeah.
In bigger leagues, a lot of owners don't want disruptions. So I think that's kind of the root of the question. But talk about your use of social media in terms of trying to get your message out. How active are you on it? How effective is it?
Well, I think that everyone lives and breathes social media, so it's absolutely effective. My son is constantly on Instagram, so I know that every other kid is constantly on Instagram. And whenever you post something, I think Calum said it best. They see what you're doing and they really want to get into it. I mean, if you're putting it out there, they think it's the right thing to do.
And are you doing a lot of your environmental messages through social?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Others?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same thing in social media. It's a way to reach people that we've never had before. And I met my girlfriend through Facebook and all these things. So you take these opportunities. In every step you take is a beneficial one, and you never know what's going to happen because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a huge following, but I know Beaver Athletics does, and that was a major thing that we wanted to achieve, was to really get people in our marketing department and in our creative department to have those allies in those different departments that are willing to give us access to the social media, because, a college athletic fan base, Beaver Nation, right? It's a major thing. It's across states. It's across, the Pac-12, everything, right? So that's how we got it. We just kind of pressured and talked to the right people, and we found the people in each department that were willing to give us access to the major platforms. And then obviously we have a great women's basketball player from Germany. Her name's Marie Gulick, and she's incredible. She's awesome. And Oregon State women's basketball, they're not too shabby. So anytime that she is posting about it, we know that she's reaching people to a high level.
Any great stories from you?
I'm just going to say I'm going to do more. The seemingly mundane that I don't think twice about, I realize I can showcase that, or, encourage fans as they're coming to the track to pay attention to recycling. Just doing a bunch more of the stuff that I take for granted as just like second nature that I do, but make it clear this is something that they can take a step. So I've learned some ideas from the summit of how to amplify the social game. I'm a bad millennial, I'll be honest. I'm working on it.
You're talking, not preaching to the choir here, but everybody in this room obviously is passionate about the effort here. What advice, where do you want to see this GSA movement go? Where do you want to see support or resources directed to these efforts?
Well, I'd love to see surfing be more involved, that's for sure. Because, everyone needs a constant reminder, and Green Sports Alliance is just that, the constant reminder and innovation and change. And with surfing is all about innovation and change. It always has been. From wooden surfboards to the way they're made now, the technologies, the shapes, the designs, everything's about moving forward.
Is real quick, surfing in the Olympics, right?
Surfing will be in the Olympics for the first time in Tokyo in 2020. And
so what should people be looking for in that?
Oh, they should be looking for my son.
There you go. No pressure, buddy. No pressure.
Well, in all seriousness, and it's funny that you said this, because I collaborated along with Diana Dam and the Huntington Beach International Surf Museum and a team of legendary surfers to develop something that we call the Surfing Circle of Honor. We just did this, what was that, Tuesday? Gosh, it seems to just flown by already. So what we did is we reached out to our surfing village those that were closest to us, legends, locals, high school surf teams. And what we did is we came together in a sign of solidarity to celebrate Olympics being welcomed, celebrate surfing being welcomed into the Olympics. Right. And we did this massive parade down Main Street. If you could just picture it, there's 5 teams of 100 with Olympic colors on. There might have been a few more than 5 teams of 100 because there was actually like almost 600 people that were in this parade. So we were parading down Main Street. They shut down PCH. We walk across it. We get in our lines. We paddle out. And it took 2.5 hours to get 511 people out past the break. And it was such a gnarly day. The current was pushing hard. There was a solid 5-foot swell. But the passion, this is why I'm so stoked about you just saying the word passion. The passion in people's faces when they were paddling out to be able to form this ring and break a world record was just phenomenal. And it's that same look of passion that, can you bring up the slideshow real quick? It's the same passion that you see from the Groms when this is actually Seal Beach after a rain. This is in the water. This is still in the water. I don't want to surf in that. Right. Seriously. But this is what the Surfrider Foundation does, and this is the passion that I'm talking about right here. These Groms are so stoked to be out there lending a hand and protecting our oceans and our beaches. But this is the Surfing Circle of Honor. That's cool. That is 511 people that came together, the same way that the Green Sports Alliance is bringing sports together, to use the power of sport to affect change.
Very cool, very cool. And so, and to that point, watch for Tokyo, and it could be something special, right?
Oh, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Huntington Beach, hopefully 2024. Cross your fingers.
Yeah, and to speak to his point, when you look at this picture, if you guys can keep it up, it's one person at a time. That 511 people you said doesn't happen without the first one, the second one, the third one. That's 6 degrees of separation we all have. If you look around, you can touch probably 4 or 5 people in 2 or 3 arms lengths. And that's kind of what everybody up here is, you've done at your school, NASCAR. One person at a time, there's 6 degrees of separation. All of a sudden you get 511 people setting a world record, cleaning the oceans, fixing their schools, changing venues, trying to help the environment. You know, one at a time, everyone has you guys are here for a reason. You guys have the power, you see what they're doing here. This facility was built with recovered materials, one person at a time.
Good message. Any other thoughts in terms of support or what you'd like to see from the GSA?
Yeah, on Monday when we were at the Pac-12 conference, it was an incredible opportunity to see what everyone is doing across the Pac-12, right? And we had the opportunity to see the camaraderie within the conference, you know, and the competitiveness. And it's all about that with sports, right? And that was what was showcased. And most of the people in that room, they were coming from sustainability offices on campus, but they still had that, you know, we want to crush the other Pac-12 schools, right? And, you know, Oregon State is lagging a little bit behind in terms of the sustainability movement in the athletic departments, but on campus, our sustainability office is incredible. And so I think on Monday, and with GSA's help of continuing the Pac-12 involvement and the Pac-12 dedication to the environmental movement, that's what I want to see, you know, is the increase of the camaraderie and the activity of student athletes and not just, you know, a bunch of administrative people in a room.
Well, you make a great point, because one of the issues I hear a lot about is that they're so siloed, the groups don't even talk in terms of athletics and the other areas in terms of sustainability programs on campus. And I already heard that Monday's discussion brought a lot of people together from the same campus who had never even met. So that's a first step, right? Anything?
We've talked about it a little bit, but I think with the young audience, I mean, I know that for me, I could make the biggest impression on a kid, and that's the coolest thing ever. And so the more the GSA is able to kind of have their presence known among kids, among people who are learning, okay, what am I interested in, what can I do? I think that's really the most powerful thing.
Couple questions here as we start to wrap it up. This one here is for Shane. You talked about bringing red and blue together, or left and right. Talk more about that. God knows we need it.
Well, I think one of the things that I've learned as I've grown into this industry is originally you talk about old school and your employment and everything at school is people are always forced to make a choice. You're Democrat, you're Republican, you like this basketball team, you're from this city, that's what you represent. But when it comes to the community environment, it doesn't have to be that way. It's a circular system. When you're choosing one side or the other, what's stuck in the middle is not getting done. So when we talk about bipartisan issues, if you can show, hey, fixing the environment can make a lot of money, all of a sudden that gap between the left and right starts getting pretty close together. When we talk about green and greed, when there's money to be made by doing well, that's kind of how you bring those people together.
And to your point, God knows we need that. Duke, this is for you. I read recently, Duke, that there will be more plastic in the oceans by volume than fish by 2050. What can we do to stop this frightening trajectory?
Stop using plastic bottles, please.
Exactly.
I mean, it really is a no-brainer. Besides, water doesn't taste good coming out of a plastic bottle. It tastes like plastic. Ugh. And please, when you go grocery shopping, bring a cloth bag. Don't use those plastic bags. I can't tell you how many times that I've duck dove underneath a wave and had a plastic bag on my face. There's no worse feeling than that. You know, if I could just bring up the slide one more time. So, I believe in beginning with the end in mind. You know, and for me, that's my end right there. Is my children being able to be in the water, in a clean ocean, and enjoying a clean environment. But my dad, he always said that, you know, legendary guy, legendary surfer, legendary shaper. His famous phrase was, "I was never watching what anyone else was doing. I was always looking forward, looking at surfers, having them show me the next wave and the next move." Now, you guys are that next move. You're not looking and see what everyone else does. You guys are blazing that path for everyone else. So I applaud everyone in this building. Thank you.
Another naive question from me. The slide that you showed with the surfing and all the debris, is it getting any better or is it getting much worse?
Well, you know, I hope you guys hang around for Peter Townend. He's the keynote speaker tomorrow. First world champion ever, phenomenal man. And he's going to speak to that very issue. And I think you're going to be moved. But yes, it is getting better. Okay. On American coastlines for sure, but abroad is the bigger issue. They would be blown away by how bad it is.
Really? All right, so let's end with them going down the road, talking a little bit about a couple of things. So let's talk about what's next for you. Let's talk about any departing words of, not advice, because I know sometimes you guys, but where do you hope to take your message, your hopes from this event? But really about what's next for you personally, professionally. I'm going to go this way. I haven't even asked you a Survivor story, too. Everyone knows she was in a Survivor contestant. What year?
It aired in 2013. It was season 26.
And you stayed for about how many weeks before voted off?
About 3 weeks, and then they voted me off the island.
That
water was really pretty though.
Where was that? What site was that?
In the Philippines, it was so clean and so pristine where we were. It was really impressive.
So Julia, what's next for you?
So I'm going to keep racing. We're having a bit of a struggling year, but just kind of keep climbing the ranks and continuing to work with organizations that I care about. And as I said, I have a lot of steps that I'm going to take now to try to make a greater influence on sustainable living through the networks that I have. But then, I mean, the big thing that I would encourage is kind of what we were talking about of not looking at what other people are doing around you. Listen to your gut. It's so easy to kind of fall into what people are doing or what's socially acceptable. But I mean, you got to stand up for something, and you're going to make some enemies along the way, but that's totally worth it because it means that you're making some bit of difference. And at the end of your days, if you can look back and say, I stood up for something, I feel like that's the most powerful thing. And so we all want to be able to say we did that.
Well said. And for the audience, the next time you are racing is when and where?
July 15th in Loudon, New Hampshire.
You're in Loudon. Yep. Well, good luck, and good luck the rest of the way. Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Jessica, what's next for you now that you're graduated?
So I'm headed to Hillsboro, Oregon, right outside of Portland, and I'm going to be doing research on wastewater. and either working on nutrients or the energy that wastewater plants can produce. And other than that, I really want to be a resource for the BAST program and make sure that that legacy continues and that it's not something that peters out and doesn't continue. And so just be an alumni that's involved with Beaver Nation and the Pac-12 and everything. So.
Any more competition for you, or you think you're done?
You know, I'm going to take a bit of a break. It was 16 years of swimming, and I think I'm going to take a step back for a couple of years and then maybe figure out if I want to do masters.
Very good, very good. Shane?
For me, the next steps is just growing my company, guests and my partners, working with the GSA, just looking to really work with individuals, groups, communities, the environment, and really help people make a difference. And if I have something to leave for you guys, understand the impact you really can make. Individuals, you guys all have families, you all have friends. All of a sudden of your intersection, your cul-de-sac is doing something. All of a sudden your entire street's doing something. All of a sudden your entire city, your community's making a difference. You guys have the power, the left, the right, we talked about it before. They're susceptible to whatever the whims that you guys have. And if you guys have something in mind, put it together and you guys have the power.
That's great. Well said. And Duke, I know that what's next for you are these two great kids you have here, but also there's some other things. What's next?
Well, can I get the slide one more time? I love pictures.
There you go. He's visual.
Pictures tell a thousand stories. So, I mean, what I would leave everyone with is the ocean is what connects us all. So, I mean, our life force is drawn from it. Let's see, how can I get back to the picture? But what I'm doing next is I am focusing on training my son so he is ready for the 2024 Olympics. But as you can see, I think he's got it nailed.
He's got it nailed. We're going to be here and watching you, young man. This is always one of my favorite panels to do. I love coming back. I love the inspiration, the motivation. I've been inspired big time by Bill last night for a good 90 minutes, and today with this great group. So give it up. I want to thank them all. And I think I'm turning it back over to Justin here.
Thank you. Again, we talked about trailblazers or pioneers last night, and you are all, Abe, as well as all of you, pioneers in this. So one more round of applause for our great pioneers and legends. I would also like to, there goes one of my pioneers. Very proud of you, Addie. Thank you very much for stepping up here and being who you are as well. You are a great pioneer as well. So we talk about defining moments in the LA 2024 Olympic bid. Think about that for just 1 second and realize the power and influence of sport and what it means. That bid alone has changed the face of Olympics, the no-build concept, the thinking about environmental footprint and design. It's an incredible thing. Nothing connects the entire planet like the Olympics. So I'm going to bring up here in just a second Brent Culp, who's the Executive Director of Sustainability and Legacy for the 2024 Olympics, which the surfing will be in Huntington Beach. But before I bring her up here to celebrate that, I just want to say how proud we are to be advisors and also a participant in that committee. And we're looking forward to bringing the Olympics to LA in 2024. And here's a small video, very short, to kind of prime you up.
LA can be anything you want it to be. There's so many brilliant minds that are here. It's an opportunity to learn, no matter where you look.
In the world of sports, art, fashion, and design, we rival any city in the world.
LA has so much soul because of the dreams that everybody had and all the doers that made the dreams come true.
When it comes to sports, when it comes to storytelling, there's no better city than Los Angeles. The path is here, the platform is here. Now it's about who can outwork who.
So that's what we're all going to be doing in 2024. You guys hear me up there? I was so lucky to join this bid committee almost 2 years ago, employee number 5. Our chairman, our CEO said sustainability and legacy must be at the heart of this bid. And if we are lucky enough to win these games, we have to knock this out of the park. What does that look like? What does that look like? What is next? What is possible? How can we use this platform to drive what is possible for people and our planet into the next generation? So that's what I get to work on. You heard that we've been working with GSA, many partners. We announced 50 sustainability and legacy advisors, which include other partners already on our bid, AEG, AECOM, already global leaders in sport and sustainability, UCLA, USC, very strong leaders in the Pac-12, Council for Responsible Sport, and others. They have advised us to put together a platform of our sustainability vision, how we will reimagine sustainability together. And the reason we're here is to hear from you as well during lunch, if you'd like to. Bring your food over there and we'll talk to you a little bit about what we hope to do with you and this platform. I'll mention just a couple of things and then we'll see you at lunch. When we started thinking about this from the beginning, we said, first of all, we must be responsible. Responsibility comes first. What does that mean for us? In LA, which is already an Olympic city, people have high expectations for us. It means no taxpayer money. We cannot use public money to host these games. This is entirely a private enterprise. It is a core element of our sustainable approach to these games. And we cannot displace people. You can't kick people out of their homes or their neighborhoods or off the streets in order to host an event. That's first. We're in California, we're in LA, we have to be zero waste, we have to be energy positive, we have to be water accountable. 100% of the people who visit these games must come on shared or public transportation. We just have to do that, and we will. And then we start thinking about, how do you use the power of the games? How do you use the power of the games to harness collective work that's already happening to really take it to the next level? We are playing with two concepts, which we call radical reuse. It means start by working with what you already have. Why build a new village for the athletes when you can use this beautiful existing village at UCLA? Why build new venues when you can use world-class venues that already exist in LA? How do you start transforming this concept of working with what you have in order to host a massive event? And how can that translate to all cities globally? Along with this concept of radical reuse, how do you use the people and the institutions and the passion and the partnerships that already exist? And how do you use the platform of these games to accelerate and strengthen and deepen what we refer to as durable partnerships? Yes, there's the materials and resources side of sustainability, but there's a very human side as well, which all of you know and experience every day. You just heard this panel talk about it so eloquently. How do you deepen those connections with partners? And that's why we are here. Here we are in the House of the Kings and with all of you. And there's no better place for me to begin a conversation about what we can do through the Olympics platform to create an award to celebrate, recognize, and inspire sustainable leaders in sport, and to begin now. We will find out on September 13th whether we have the privilege of hosting the games in Los Angeles. And on September 14th, we will start with legacy first. How do we use the power of these games, the power and the inspiration of the athletes and all of our partners to incentivize behavior and come together as a community in a way that creates stronger and healthier and more resilient people, stronger, healthier, more resilient communities, and a stronger, healthier, and more resilient planet. There are so many things we can do. One of those things will be creating an Olympic Green Medals Award for leaders in sustainable sport in your industry. And we'd like to talk to you about what that looks like, so on September 14th, we can make that happen and then do that every year leading up to the games. So see you at 12:15 right up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. Wow, exciting morning we've had so far. Lots more to come today. 3 quick highlights that I heard that I wanted to share with you before we give you a little bit of time to do some breakout work. First, when we were talking with Calum and he was being interviewed by the 2 young pioneers, I heard something about starting young and learning along the way. And one of the things that it reminded me of is we're all young. We need to be all learning along the way, even now. No excuses, okay? Number 2, when we were listening to the Brilliant Athletes panel, one thing that inspired me is, Duke, when you said, the GSA is a constant reminder. Yes, we are. And yes, we will be more, and we'll be more fan-facing and more community-facing and more athlete-facing, and we'll be in your face. And that's where we need you all. Bill Walton last night said stories. You echoed that. We need stories. We're going to share with you before the break just a little sample of one of the success stories from one of our members. You've already seen some success stories, but we're informally launching a program called Engage, where we want to collect formally the stories from all of our members. So when we come out to Green Sports Day in this October, we'll be wall to wall with success stories. Okay, so we'll cue that up in a moment. And then the third thing from Brent's, I can't ever remember hearing the words, sustainability is going to be at the core of an Olympic bid. And I know my good friend and colleague Jill Savory, who's done a ton of work on sustainability with a variety of organizations, including some of the previous Olympics, that must be music to your ears, because that's the ultimate. When you incorporate something, it's not a bolt-on, it's built in. So we'll be looking forward to September 14th and hearing the announcement on that. So coming up, we have breakouts at 11 and at 2:30. So take advantage of that fabulous programming. There's a lot of great innovation and leaders going on through that. During the break, again, we encourage you to go up to the LA 2024 Lunch and Learn. We've got many sessions on the plaza by Corning and Phillips. And of course, we're going to be joined by our wonderful students from yesterday's Client and Sports Student Summit. Also, a quick reminder, the Coors Light Sports Bar will be open at noon. And we can get some fresh air outside on the deck and take advantage of a beverage. So we're going to reconvene back here after breakouts at 11 and 2. We'll be back here a little after 4. We start right on the dot at 4:15 with Jeremy Jones. You won't want to miss him. Professional snowboarder and founder of Protect Our Winners. Then we'll be going into collegiate sustainability professionals. And lastly, my favorite, well, I'm biased, I get to moderate this one. Panel is of the 6 league representatives, league and association representatives, all up on stage at once. It's going to be pretty powerful. So have a great day, and before we leave you, in the spirit of telling stories, take a look really quick at this video from Jonathan Taze.
For me, I think it's been a huge learning process to learn about the little things that you can do on a day-to-day basis, whether it's being conscious of the amount of water that you use, the amount of plastic that you use, the amount of energy that you use in your home or driving to work or whatever it is in your daily routine. Just knowing those little things and how they affect your carbon footprint, I think, is the first step that I think anyone can take towards understanding and improving that. And eventually, the more you know, the more you understand the opportunities that are going to come your way to be able to make things better and greener.